Hi, this is Matthew Hirvela-EDCI 569, and this week we're taking a look at increasing equity for educators, and particularly in the area of increasing technology opportunities for those educators. So why do we need to increase equity for educators? Well, the best technology that we have, the best learning platforms, the best software will never happen in a classroom if the educators themselves don't have access to the tools they need to put it into place. Those tools, most importantly, in my experience, include professional development time and resources to learn how to use the new technologies. So often I've seen new technology rolled out, thrown into the classroom, teachers given an hour or two of training by a visiting salesperson from the technology company, and then left to their own devices to try and make it happen after that. Rarely is there adequate time to learn the products and technology in the first place, and even less often do we see adequate follow-up, retraining, Q&A sessions with experts on the technology. Teachers also need to have a seat at the planning table so they feel a part of the process. This would increase their buy-in to the new technology. This would also give them a better sense of efficacy in the entire implementation. And then, of course, we have to have equity in terms of the actual tools themselves, the software, the hardware, the internet connections. Teachers all need to have equal access to those tools to implement online learning, remote learning, blended learning, all the things that educators are going to be expected to bring into their classrooms. We look to ISTE for guidance on how to implement these things. ISTE, the International Society for Technology and Education, has set tremendous standards for students, educators, coaches, administrators, leaders. The standards for educators include 7 areas. One of those areas is as a learner, and ISTE points out that teachers should be learners, should pursue their interests, should stay current with research, and should explore and apply approaches that technology makes possible in the classroom. This is, those of us who are techies think this is how it should happen on a regular basis. Unfortunately, too often it does not. Also, under the ISTE standards for educators, we expect teachers to be collaborators so that they have time to collaborate with colleagues, that they also have time to collaborate and co-learn with students to discover and use new resources and get feedback from students on how they are able to use the new software or hardware in areas where teachers can improve the student experience. We also need to develop cultural competency. Anyone who works with a diverse group of students needs to be culturally competent to effectively reach those kids and to effectively teach those kids. It's a matter of common decency and courtesy to be competent in all the various cultures that teachers encounter in their classrooms with the students that come to them to learn. It's a part of being a professional. It's a part of education in the United States of America. So how do we increase educators? Well, we need to carefully and thoughtfully assess each teacher's current situation. What do they know? What do they have access to? What do they need? We can do this by conducting surveys and interviews with them on a regular basis. We can develop databases of information, identify which buildings need which types of professional development, what type of equipment needs to be brought in to get those classrooms up to speed to carry out district and building initiatives. And then finally, we also need to give them the time in the agency to influence what is going on in their building. This goes back to giving them a seat at the table at the planning stages so that the leaders get feedback from teachers and include them in the planning process. Not only does that increase equity, but it will increase buy-in, it will increase efficacy, and it will increase the chances that your technology project is successful. The only source that I reference here are those ISTE standards for educators that can be found at ISTE.org, along with all the other standards from ISTE. Thank you very much for listening this evening.